Hello, this is d'écouter on NS Weekly English News. One of 6 alleged juvenile offenders being held at Border Guard Outpost 3 in the Arkan township of Budidong died 4 months ago, according to Burma's State Councillor's office. The young man was among a group, 6 of whom were under the age of 16, arrested on false allegation of involvement in attacking and killing border guards in November. The youngster, aged 12 to 15, were charged with murder alongside with other offences. Mahmoud Rafi died on 2nd February while receiving medical care for inflammation of the stomach, said the government office statement on 5th June. He was taken into the Budidong hospital on 16 January and received medical treatment for recurring symptoms on 30 January, according to a medical certificate recording his death. Mahmoud Rafi died of periodicular effusion, which caused cardiac shock. No explanation was offered by the government as to why the announcement of the boy's death was delayed. According to a report by Reuters in March, 13 children, some as young as 10, are among some 400 Rohingya Muslims detained on charges of escorting with insurgent. Burmese government security launched a crackdown in October last year. Turkey's Dayanat Foundation is providing schooling to 4,000 Rohingya children in Pakistan commercial capital Karachi, the project's coordinator said. Ahmed Kandemir told Anadolu agency the scheme, which started in 2015 with 25 courses, now includes 100 courses. A student enrolled in the program are taught Urdu, English, mathematics, religion, culture and the Quran. Books and logistic support for the schools are all provided by the foundation. The project targets the coastal Korangi and Mali district of the city, where the Rohingya population ekes out a living as cheap labor in the fishing industry. A law passed in Myanmar in 1982 denied Rohingya, many of whom lived in Myanmar for generations, citizenship, making them stateless, removing their freedom of movement, access to education and services, allowing arbitrary confiscation of their property. They have been fleeing Myanmar in droves since mid-2012, when communal violence broke out in Rakhine state between ethnic Rakhine Buddhists and Rohingya Muslims. For years, members of the minority have been fleeing to nearby countries, including Pakistan. An elderly Rohingya man has been brutally attacked by the Buddhist nationalist gang and soldiers in Mamra, according to local sources. Said Amin, aged around 50 years, was at a grazing field near the village of Handarafara when a gang of 12 men accompanied by 3 Tamado personnel showed up in the area and started assaulting him, according to his testimony. Locals allege the 12 attackers belonged to the local Mabata outfit. Amin is currently in a critical condition. One of his hands have been totally broken in the brutal attack. Village administrations has refused to take action against the perpetrators, though those responsible are very well known in the locality. Rohingya Muslims frequently face attacks by gangs backed by the security forces when they venture outside their settlement. Activists have been long alleged this is a systematic policy to prevent the Rohingya populace from earning a livelihood by cutting them off the waterways, forests and grazing ground and the markets. This leads to artificial starvation and forces Rohingya communities to move out. The situation is especially dire in the southern townships, where Rohingya have steadily become a minority community following decades of oppression. Approximately 80,000 Rohingya fled to Bangladesh from the violence-affected areas of Mongdo North and South to escape further atrocities of security forces. Those refugees have been scattered across Ukiya and Teknaf. Most of them live in Balukhali camp. Rohingya women and children are among people who sustained severe injuries after a lightning strike in Balukhali refugee camp, Cox's Bazar, Bangladesh, on last Wednesday. They were rushed to MSF clinic at Kutupalang refugee camp for receiving treatment. The refugees are without shelter after Cyclone Mora destroyed thousands of flimsy sheds in the camp. Neither do they have food ration or any support from any side, of which they have been suffering from starvation and shelter, as the monsoon reaches its peak during June and July, with downfall of heavy rain, flooding and strong winds. The United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights, Prince Zahid bin Raid Al Hussein, condemned the Myanmar's refusal to let in an international commission to investigate violation against the Muslim minority Rohingya. This came in a speech last Tuesday at the opening session of 35th session of the United Nations Human Rights Council, which will be held until 23rd of June. He criticized the attempt by the Myanmar to take the United Nations Commission to other locations far from the areas of abuse. The session will discuss a number of human rights issues of certain states that call for violation taking place on its territory, with the attention of the Council particularly on Syria and Myanmar. The Rohingya Muslims on Saturday commemorate their catastrophe, which was renewed in 2012, specifically on June 10th. The Rohingya Media Center launched a social networking campaign using hashtag #ChargeMyanmarArmy. Rohingyas and people around the world joined and called upon the restoration of the rights of the Muslim minority in Myanmar. Arkan News Agency issued several videos on Rohingya crisis, one of which was titled "What Happened to Rohingya in October 2016" in English and Arabic, and Rohingya's Memories of June 10, 2012, and What Happens to a Rohingya Woman in Arkan. A group of Myanmar army camped near two villages north of Mongdo town in Arkan province for military purposes, during which they harassed Rohingya Muslims and looted their property, Arkan News Agency correspondent reported. The reporter added that the Myanmar militiamen have camped near the village of Ludaing north of Mongdo and looted the property of Muslims and the livestock to be used in the military camp, which often lasts for several days. The reporter pointed out that these groups often bring in girls for sexual pleasure, which is allowed by the authorities in the country. Local residents of Rohingya expressed concern that looting and harassment of military personnel would increase as people lived in difficult conditions after Hurricane Mora hit the area several weeks ago. The Malaysian police rescued 11 Rohingya human trafficking victims in a Kuala Lumpur raid recently, the victims of which 9 of them are children, were being held in a confined space by 6 other Myanmar Buddhist nationals. The 6 traffickers are between the ages of 25 to 30. They are believed to be the members of a syndicate that traffics in Rohingyas, the Malaysian National News Agency reported. Police are also found 5 notebooks that contain records of the sale of 6 other children, each between $280 to $350. The suspect bought the victims from the north of the peninsula and kept them confined at the premises. The victims would be sold in an agreed price, local Deputy Police Chief Habibi Minijin said in a press conference following the raid. He added that children were mostly sold to begging syndicates. Thank you for watching this. Hope to see you very soon with more news.